What do you want to talk about next?
Intel Arc. There's some
right.
stuff going on.
Yeah,
Arc
let's talk about
GPUs
it.
get DX9 support.
And Luke refuses to update his drivers.
I do, actually.
As part of the Arc challenge.
I am taking
Let's talk about that first. Then let's talk about how much better these drivers are.
Okay, so we got an email from Intel. It was not, I'm not complaining about the fact that I got an email, just to be very clear. The person who sent it is a very nice person. It was worded nicely. There's no issues with the email. But we got an email telling us that there was this new driver. So I was like, okay, cool. I clicked on the link, went to go download it, and then I was like, wait. I complained about Arc control, Intel's overlay software thing.
It's very annoying.
It's extremely annoying. Don't you just love how when you turn on your computer, you just can't use it for a while until Arc control decides to load, and then you can make it go away, and then you can use your your computer.
Even Microsoft's own built-in notification pop-up things in the bottom, they sit over top of the expanded system tray. You cannot interact with anything in your system tray. So if your computer's been to sleep for a while and it's like ba-boom, 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 I am trying to use my computer. Nothing should sit over top of me interacting with my PC. Anytime I am doing something, like I run into this with like text input, for example. If I am fucking typing right now, you do not put a focus window in front of me with a highlighted OK button, for example, in the event that I maybe press spacebar or enter, either of which will activate it, and have no idea what just happened.
Yeah.
That may not happen, and yet it does. Sorry, that's an aside.
No,
Carry
that's
on,
completely
please.
fine and very valid. But yeah, okay. So I left the email. I went to Arc Control, went to go check if I could get an update. I also wanted to make sure that it didn't like automatically update without me being at my computer or something. So Arc Control does display in the top corner what version of the driver you currently have. Okay, I'm still on the old one. Cool. First one, check. Then I go to the driver page on Arc Control. This page has not changed at all. There's still the big banner. I complained about this in the video. There's no like update button that you would expect from a piece of software like this that updates your driver for you, which is like the entire reason why most people would install these types of pieces of software, because that's the main value add that they have. But that button doesn't exist. There is a banner image that says like download here thing, and it talks about Warzone 2.0 in the banner image. So I clicked on that, being like, maybe they forgot to update this picture, because that is the same picture that has been there since I installed my card. I click on that, it brings me to an article about the Warzone 2.0 driver update thing that they had, which is the same page that was there when I first installed my card. So I'm like, okay, so they haven't updated anything. I must have gotten like an early email notification. That's not 100% fair to a user experience, so I don't really want to update right now. But just out of curiosity, I clicked the download now or whatever it was called button, and it brought me to the correct download page. So that link was working. It brought me to the new driver, but I was like, there would have been no reason for me to click this, because nothing led me to think that there was a new driver until I clicked this button. So I would not have done that if I didn't receive the email. So I exited out, informed them of all that kind of stuff. A few different web like review sites, written sites, wrote articles on it. So maybe if you were quite the techie and followed a few review sites, you would have seen it that way and been able to update. That almost justified it for me, but I was like, I still haven't been told by Intel as a normal user that this thing exists. So if I just followed tech to get my parts list and then built my computer and then ignored it, which is pretty normal.
That's very normal. We see a lot of that.
There's a ton of that. That's what I used to do.
Yep.
I would not know that this driver update just happened. 100%. There's no way that I would have known. They told me that I would be getting a notification for it. Maybe I did. I loathe the Arc notifications, so I purposefully ignore them as much as possible because it makes me really mad. So maybe I got one. Maybe I got one while I wasn't at my computer.
Yeah.
Like just sending one notification is not good or acceptable. A way that I've seen some things do it before is your tray icon updates with a little like exclamation mark or a dot or something, like some type of indication of like there's something here. And then when you click on that, it should tell you when the screen comes up like, hey, there's a new driver update.
Because a driver update is basically the only thing that I want to hear from you about if you are a graphics card manufacturer. Nothing else matters to me.
Not at all. No. And you can pack some other stuff in when you send me to your driver update.
Sure.
You can have some billboards along the way.
Yeah, while I'm installing the driver, you can tell me about some game bundle you're running. But like realistically, if I'm installing your software and you are a first generation company, right? So this is Intel's first generation of GPU. If I own your product, there's nothing to upsell me to. I already own it. You don't have to market to me. Like with NVIDIA, I kind of get it. You install their drivers and it's like, the new RTX blah, blah, blah has blah, 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 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, sure, fine, fair enough. But with Intel, I already have your one f***ing card. So unless you're making it better, I'm not interested. Like, or you know, they'll have, or like, we have a game bundle now, buy a whatever and get a whatever. I don't care. What, I'm going to go buy a second? No, I'm going to go buy the game.
I even thought this was kind of funny. If you have the Arc Control software, there's a giveaway that they were doing where you win a computer with an Arc in it. And I'm like, I have one of those.
It's like being at Disneyland and they let the prize is a ticket to Disneyland.
You want a ticket to Disneyland that you have to use today?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, to be clear, sure, I'll go stand outside Disneyland and scalp it, like, I guess. But you might as well just give me the cash at that point.
Yeah, like you're giving me another Arc card that I can sell. It would have even made more sense to me if it was a system without a GPU. And they were like, hey, you get to upgrade the rest of your rig now.
Here's the latest rig to put around your Arc.
Yeah, like that would have made more, but it was like, nope. The main selling feature was that it came with an Arc. And I was like, I have one already, come on. But, I mean, I'm not going to dog on them for giving away free computers to people.
Yeah, I mean,
that's cool.
It's a good thing.
It was just funny, that's all. But, okay, so yeah, I still have not updated to this new driver, despite knowing that it's apparently actually super awesome, and we'll get into that in a second. But I'm kind of holding on to the stance of that I'm not going to do that until Arc Control, my arch-nemesis, as far as I can tell at this point, is going to inform me in some reasonable way that there is actually an update, which it hasn't done so far, so I'm just going to keep trudging around on the old driver.
LB725C in Floatplane chat says, Luke, do you have Intel Support Assistant? Every time I boot my PC, it tells me about the new Arc driver.
I'm pretty sure I do, but again, like Arc-nemesis, that's pretty good. Okay, first of all, the Arc Control notifications cover all other notifications. So if it's informing me,
it's true
when I turn on my computer that that's happening, what's the point in that? Also, I have learned that Arc Control just disables my whole computer while it's loading. So when it does that, I leave. I'm not kidding. I leave my computer. And that's not me just being like, I'm going to ignore this notification. That's what I've been doing the whole time. Before I got this email, everything. I wake up in the morning. I do work from home. So one of the first things I do is I turn my computer on. Just so I can make sure, like, I don't know, it's gonna boot because I need to be there for meetings or whatever else. So one of the first things I do is I turn my computer on and then I go, like, get breakfast. So what I've done since I installed Arc is I get my computer to the point where Arc Control is going to rip control of my own computer from my hands until it finishes loading, and I leave and I grab breakfast and I come back to my computer and then it's done booting up and I eat.
Some people are calling Luke petty over this, but I actually disagree. Luke is trying to experience the product as he would experience it if he wasn't a member of the tech media.
If I did not directly get emailed that message, which again, I'm not complaining about receiving the email.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if I didn't receive that email.
Thanks, Trout.
Yep. It's good. And it was well explained, it was well written. Like, nothing went wrong there. My whole complaint is purely with Arc Control.
That he wouldn't have known. So the idea is actually just to maintain the integrity of the challenge. Which is that if he wasn't on an email list, then he wouldn't have known.
Because, like, when we did the Linux challenge, we didn't take help from Linux community members that would not have given us help.
Yeah, we could have. I would have. Come on, like. Think about the way that the Linux community wants to promote Linux, and they do, and that's a good thing. It's it's overall a good thing for the world to promote Linux, which is a big reason why we did the challenge in the first place. So, but with that in mind, so through that lens, consider with the reach that we have and how much attention, how many eyes were on the Linux challenge, how much support the Linux community would have thrown at me personally to fix a problem that I had. But that was not the purpose. The purpose was to experience it as though I was not me and not broadcasting these challenges to 1 million or 2 million people. And I think it's an important perspective. With that said, looking at these numbers, I will be installing that driver first thing when I get home.
And I want to, because this is sick.
This is amazing.
And I have to give them props where props is due. I mentioned in an email back to them about this stuff because I informed them of everything that I just said because I want to give them the opportunities early and often to do cool things. But I informed them that like we actually played Star Citizen. I straight up did not expect it was going to work like at all.
Yeah.
When we were loading it, I was expecting that we were like throwing it under the bus, and then it was fine.
Well, it was as fine as Star Citizen ever is, but
yes.
It was...
Yeah, it was a little choppy here and there, but it was on my old card as well.
And I almost got stuck in my ship again.
But that's normal. Like, there was nothing that I was like, okay, this is Arc's fault. It was just like, okay, this is playing Star Citizen in 2022. So I was quite impressed with how well it did that. It's been completely fine in Halo since I turned off reflections. I've actually had very, very few problems in-game over the last little while. And this is a huge performance jump.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, like, I kind of want to talk about Intel's 1.2 gigabyte driver downloads and
that is pretty wild.
The slow servers that they are serving them from.
Okay.
But on the other hand, man, if they're going to pack this kind of feature improvement into these drivers, I guess I'll get over it.
I'll download 5 gigabyte driver updates if you're going to do that.
What we're looking at here is DirectX 9 games and their relative performance going from driver 3490 to driver 3953. This is based on 1080p high and 1440p ultra settings across 6 games. So over here, this side is 1080p, this side is 1440p, and it's not clear if we're looking at, 1 percentile minimum frame rates or if we're looking at averages or whatever else, but there's no denying that these are substantial improvements. I mean, CSGO has been an extremely sore spot for Arc performance, well, really since the very beginning. And a 1.79 times performance improvement is enormous.
Massive.
Like, we joked in our review. We said, like, hey, Intel, couldn't help noticing, bud, that your brand new GPU is getting outperformed by a card from, I forget what it was, from like 8 years ago or something like that. And yeah, it was a high-end card, and this is a mid-range GPU. But still, yikes. Well, this at least puts Arc within, modern GPU performance, even if it's not going to be at the top of the charts. This is enormous. The bigger news, though, the cooler news, is how this happened. It's not like all of a sudden they managed to make the architecture of the 700 series cards better for DirectX 9. It's actually still running. I guess it would be Vulkan, I guess. Yeah, it's still running Vulkan, which is a modern API, and Arc has always been solid for DirectX 12 and Vulkan games. It's just using a translation layer. I'm not sure if it's Vulkan. It might actually be translating to DirectX 12. Don't quote me on that.
The XVK?
Yeah. No, it would be Vulkan, right?
I think so.
Oh crap! I hope I'm not getting this wrong, guys. Jump in if we're getting this wrong. But I'm pretty sure. So sorry. It is Vulkan. Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, so they're using what is actually like one of the foundational components of, what would you describe it? How would you describe it? What's Valve's name for their
Proton?
Yeah, Proton. Do they still call it Proton?
I think so.
I thought they might have rebranded it. Anyway, but it's one of the foundational elements of Proton, which is what Valve is using to take DirectX games that were never designed to be run on Linux, convert them on the fly as you are gaming them, as you are playing them into Vulkan. So is that wild or what?
Yeah, DXVK, Vulkan-based implementation of D3, D9, D3, D10, and D3, D11 for Linux/Wine.
For Linux/Wine/Windows.
Apparently. Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Linux API hackery being used to make Intel's
like 79% performance increases in CSGO on Windows.
That's
sick.
Imagine anything else in the world whereby instead of running it natively, running it through a translation layer gets you an 80% performance improvement.
It's pretty wild. So I think what we saw, I don't know if it was one like first percentile, whatever stuff, but apparently it was a 2.3 times boost in 99th percentile FPS in CSGO.
Okay, Pete Torres says they aren't just using DXVK, but their code contains some components of DXVK. Yes. And no, it's not related to Proton, other than that Proton also uses DXVK. I know. I said that DXVK was one of the foundational elements of Proton. That is open source cool or what?
That's pretty sick. This is a very, very good use of it. I'm very happy about this driver update, and I hope it treats you well, and we'll see if I get to use it at all.